topic. Now, this is somebody that's a lot more skilled, knowledgeable about this. That's why I asked him, hey, would you like to come on and talk for 20, 30 minutes about this? I just want to pick your brain and you guys could hear his perspective. He's been in the independent contractor business longer than I have. I've been doing this for, I guess, almost 2 years, right? 2 years? 2 years. So not that long, okay, in the grand scheme of things. But I do love it. We're able to do okay here. But I want to get his perspective. So I'm going to bring him up in just a moment. Let me get the headset ready. If you guys have questions, please ask them, and we could see if between him and I, we could try to catch some good ones here and there. But I want to just ask his opinion on it and just have an organic conversation about what he thinks about what's going on. Because I think this could obviously affect a lot of people, right? I think we're going to have our ears and our eyes open and to listening and seeing what transpires with this proposal, okay? So let's go ahead and... Steve, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. You can hear me good?
Yep.
We're good. Okay, so let me go ahead and put up this banner real quick. Proposal to reclassify as an employee, man. So I know how you feel, but some of my viewers might not know. So first off, give us a little, I know you've been on the show a couple of times, but give us a little bit of a background, how long you've been doing 1099 work, and what do you know about this proposal?
Okay. I've been doing 1099 work since 1997. So traditional, what is considered the traditional independent contractor. So I was around when the gig economy emerged, and it actually helped blend traditional work. Because if I had downtimes in between, by the way, for those that wonder, I do production. So if I'm gone on the road, I might be home for 2-3 weeks. I don't like being bored for a day, so more than less 2-3 weeks. So the gig economy was a godsend because it was awesome. It's like I could come home, because we all know no matter how you look at this, there's no way that there's no job in the world. I'm not even talking flex time, that you could just go, I need to go on the road for 7 weeks, and then I'll be back for 4, and then I'm going to be gone for 5.
It's extremely rare. I mean,
but so, yeah, the way I broke this apart into, into kind of 2 parts, because I think there's a little preface to what Biden put out this week that we need to talk about. But I'll just keep it to the bullet points. I've kept it pretty short. You guys, this all comes from a 184-page document. So, but the bullet points, I've got them down pretty good. But what I want to ask before we even touch into the very few bullet points there will be is, so the question, was and we're only going to talk about this in the very beginning, but I found it very important. Was Prop 22 for California a win for the gig companies? I'm asking anybody in the chat. I'm not even watching chat, by the way.
I'm watching it, but that is.
But I want to know if anybody knows. I mean, was it good? Because they spent $208 million to get it, as opposed to the other alternative and not being carved out of AB5. But I just want to know because they have to do, for Prop 22, they have to do what? They have to do partial medical stipend, 120% of minimum wage, and allow full flexibility on the apps. I'm pointing this out because good for the IRS. Yeah, actually, taxes are affected, this, that, the other. I'm going to just tell you, because I've found this week that I'm very surprised that a lot of people don't know. So what the flex?
Let me ask you a question. Do you think, before you go, because now that you asked that question to the chat and some people are answering, do you think that there are a good amount of drivers that are in California that enjoy Prop 22 and see some actual benefits from it on a daily basis? Do you think that there are some that would say that they like it?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, dude, if Prop 22 is everywhere, let's put it this way: if Prop 22 is everywhere, I was talking to even Tony, and Tony sees eye to eye with me on this stuff. And it's, if it was in every state right now, none of us are going to return that money. It comes in your check or in your pay. You're not going to call Uber and say, you know what? I don't want the Prop 22 money. Here you go. And if there's anybody in this chat that says they would do that, I'm going to actually call their bluff.
Yeah. Come on, let's not kid ourselves. Money is money. Yeah.
All the companies would be out of business. because we can barely support what's going on in California. But here's the problem. So the Flex Association, which is Uber, Lyft, Instacart, DoorDash, Grubhub, they spent $208 million to get Prop 22 on a ballot that then was voted on and won by 3 million votes. People don't like voting with big oil or tech giants and things like that, but they did this anyway. And here's if anybody ever wonders, like, well, why'd they even do that? What's the benefit? That's almost as bad as employee model. Well, here's the benefit. In that proposition, the deal was it denies the right to collectively bargain or unionize. So by having Prop 22, they can't even, because we all know how close they were to unionizing and trying. So that was like what they had to give up was their primary part of the fight. We won't unionize. I'm mentioning this because as of last week, a new movement has started in California. It's 30,000 gig workers strong already that are fighting for unions because Prop 22 isn't enough. I don't know how else to say this. I know that if the California listeners, I know you're not lawmakers. I know you didn't have to do with this, but honestly, if the agreement was you're going to get all this stuff, but you can't unionize, and now they're like, well, we're going to keep that and we want union. I mean,
you can't have. I mean, we can't. We have
That's
to also
a deal,
Yeah, we can't have every single thing. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to understand. Well, you want all these things, but then you also want to be independent. Which is it? You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of where I feel sometimes. It's like we want freedom, we want flexibility, we want to be able to not work for a week or two because you got a road show. You want to be able to take your kids on vacation. You homeschool your kids like the driven mom does. Like there's a lot of reasons we do this type of work because we like that flexibility. It's great. Listen, y'all, I'm lazy at this point in my life. And I built some things. I don't work the nights and I don't work weekends. It's my family time because I did it so long for the restaurant industry, right? So I enjoy that flexibility. So we got to understand, like, if we're expecting or want so much from the company and we get something, then we want more. Like, I get it. These companies do a lot of shady things, but like we have to understand the reality that we're living in, and we can't expect every single thing to go like 100% our way and get everything, because then these apps, well, there won't be any apps, and then we won't have opportunity. And I know that some people might not agree with that, and I understand that that's cool. Everybody has different perspective, but like it's crazy that we got the Prop 22 now, but we also want to be union now, and so us delivery drivers out here, we can't all make $50 an hour. Like there's not enough money for everybody to do that. There's only enough. We can't keep printing money. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
well, and this is the kicker to me. So since AB 5 went into effect, since Prop 22 got the carve out, and I'm not even going to touch on all the people that lost, the traditional independent contractors who lost their livelihoods, 6-figure earners, 25, 30 years, can't work in California anymore. So I'm not even going to go there right now. But where I find this very interesting is that there are Washington State, Massachusetts State, and 2 other states potentially, but Washington and Massachusetts, both in January 2023, will take on AB 5 legislation. Massachusetts is no longer allowing even a vote on a Prop 22 type thing, so they will instantly go to union. Washington State, they're probably not going to allow it either, but there's other states looking at this. Now, the huge difference here, though, is everybody was going out to California to see, hey, is this Prop 22 thing working? And they're like, yeah, the gig economy, people seem happy. They're getting flex time. Okay, well, every one of the states that's proposing all this stuff and that is going to be pushing hard, and I'm telling you, there's about 10 others behind them. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, there's a bunch, you guys.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
But these are the ones that are going next year. And the huge difference here is that they've been talking about, like, they've been selling it in their own states as like, well, there's AB 5 and here's how they dealt with Prop 22. Okay, well, in every one of these, there will be they are pushing for employment model, collective bargaining, and unionization, that the opposite of Prop 22. They're not going to allow it. Right. So the giants, unions, W-2 franchise model shifts, taking all orders, these are going to be things you're going to have to do. But the worst of it all is like you were saying earlier, I was listening, and like you were saying earlier, who's going to want to be an employee of DoorDash? Because you're multi-apping, done, because you got to pick one.
Yep.
And then the other thing is, most likely it's going to be a franchise model. And if that kind of thing happens, we all know what that is. The city gets divided up into franchises. Again, it's not going to be California. You're not going to be able to turn on the app at any time. And actually, when you do turn it on, you're probably going to find out you didn't get fired, but you probably are going to find out you don't have a job with DoorDash.
Yes. Yeah. I think there'd be, and this isn't to scare you guys. Like, we're just having a conversation as far as what was proposed, but I think this is inevitable that they would have to, we wouldn't need as many drivers. But then also, I think there would be a lot of drivers that would be like, I'm not doing this anymore. Right. So then maybe there'd be just some self deactivations, which maybe it's good for the ones that stay. I don't know, because we're not there yet. But Steve, let me ask you a question. With this proposal, because I'm not sure, I didn't read it, right? I looked at some bullet points, but is this proposal to where the states could have their own kind of thing, or would it be every state would have to? It's a proposal where it's like federal. You know what I'm saying?
So this is where Biden's part comes in. So if we all remember, Biden, and I know everybody hates it when I say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, that this isn't political. It is political, but I'm not on a political side here. I'm just telling you guys.
It can be
something.
Political without being, we're not talking politics, but it is political.
Right. I'm just going to state some facts. And two of Biden's biggest objectives coming into office were the Green New Deal and the PRO Act. And the PRO Act came really close, you guys. And that was even going to break all the right to work states, everything. It was going to federalize all the states. And it's it should be no surprise to anybody. Biden, his whole career, 40 years in the Senate and whatnot, he's pushed for unions his whole life. But this is like, I think I can't believe the PRO Act didn't go through either. I'm upset. We need to make this go through. And it actually is in a way that, so what has happened is he's trying to change a rule here. And here's the bullet points. It actually goes pretty quick. So on Tuesday, he wrote the proposal. On Thursday, the proposal was turned in, which starts a 45-day process to be able to write in and to be able to say you oppose it, you like it, whatever. Supposedly they take that into account, but my guess is maybe they get it to the correct legislators and whatnot. But it is a government website that you do this on. But here's the thing. This is the process. It will take a couple weeks, maybe months, most likely, to get off the ground. After that, it becomes open to litigation from the opposition, which is the Flex Association. Right. So they'll be able to, that's kind of like a mediation. Like, can we find a middle ground? They're not going to be able to. That's because
the companies will fight this, right? That's what I mean. They're gonna fight this, and I know you say weeks or months. I even think I would imagine.
Well, no, this
longer
is
than that.
Weeks, months. Because Biden's rule change proposal is in legally now. So once it gets off the ground, then it becomes open to litigation. Can we work it out between us without spending millions and millions of wasted dollars? And then that won't happen either. So what happens is once the rule is announced, it will certainly be challenged in court, like you were saying. Judicial proceedings on a rule change normally, history just tells us the average is 1 to 2 years. I could see this going for 3, 4, 5, because you've got Uber, Lyft, Instacart, DoorDash, Grub. You've got them all together.
Well, let me ask you a question. So if it takes that long, Biden at that point is not president. So is this proposal then still even a possibility? Do you know how does that work? You know what I'm saying? Like if a president or like that particular cabinet leaves, he's stay on the books.
He's proposing to change a rule right now.
Okay.
But another president could do that. But with as much hype has been put behind this, it really would depend on how the midterms go, really.
Right.
But basically judicial proceedings, maybe not even, maybe it's just going to take 2 or 3. And that's what it is. At that point, they could even appeal and whatnot. And so it starts to feel like maybe this isn't so bad. So here's what the deal. The proposal is limited only to employment policies that the labor board enforces. And the labor board is federal. So the only thing that they can really touch is federal minimum wage, which is like just under $8.
Yeah.
And so that's all they can play a role in. So again, it becomes like, well, how bad is this Biden proposal if that's it? So the IRS and state governments, as we know, are independent of the federal government. So each state will be able to choose how they want to go. The IRS will. Here's the thing, though, and I found this the most important part of the 184 pages is that most likely over time, most states will adjust to be aligned with the proposal meaning Biden's rule change, mainly because judges, legislators, and administrative bodies will need to interpret employment law, even on a state level, somewhat aligned with the federal. They can't. Everybody just can't be like all over the map.
All over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can have differences in your state, but you can't be like running different countries style. And it's so the bottom line is that, it will take more than this to make it so that we feel this pinch. But this was like, if you had to put it in like 3 pieces, this is a huge first piece. And the midterms are very, like, I was going to say to everybody, make sure you vote in the midterms. And I even challenge this. I am an independent. I'm truly an independent, like to the point I'm registered an independent, so I don't get to vote in primaries. That's the one. If anybody ever wondered what that means,
I didn't know. I didn't realize that was a thing. Yeah. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and because I care a lot about politics, that's something that it kind of sucks to give up. But at the same time, when you do go to vote, make sure that you know where the candidates stand. And this time around, if like you work full-time gig work, try and unless you just have too crazy of a politician, but try and take the 2 candidates that have the best chances, look at their stance on gig work, and everybody's website has one.
Because that's what's going to impact you, right? Like, it's not always the hot topics. It's like the stuff that impacts you every day. Yeah.
Right. And if this is your living, this is one of the most important midterms to make sure you're voiced in. So I've had to do this in my life, but like you might have to bite the bullet and vote for somebody you didn't think you were going to vote for. That's just my opinion. I mean, vote for whoever. I would rather you go out and vote and vote for people I don't want than not to vote. I think everybody should vote. It's important. But I think that you can easily find out where the candidates in your state stand. And it's important because you might be planning on voting for somebody who might be planning on destroying the gig economy. And it might be worth maybe like some of the other platform pieces, but it might be worth a second look.
I think, let me ask you a question. So do you think this is something that drivers should worry about in the next year, let's just say, right? Because a lot of us that do this work, we're doing it part-time. Most of us maybe we're not looking a year from now, but do you think, like, as it stands now, a year from now, do you think this is something that we should worry about?
I think it could become something that, not that it's going to be enacted and enforced to such a level, but I think it's something that just like Prop 22, I think it's something that now the ball has started rolling. The court cases are going to start. The money is going to start getting dished out, $208 million per state kind of thing to fight these things. And I think that we, the gig workers, will pay for that. I don't think they're going to do it as a punishment. I don't think they're going to say, hey, we're getting sued, so you guys are going to get screwed.
But things will be, they can.
They're just not going to have a choice.
Yeah, they can lower base pay by 50 cents, or they could do this, or they could not have as many promotions or peak pays or benefits and this or that. Like, there's a lot of things they could do. They can manipulate offers. Like, there's things they could do to recoup the 200 million or whatever that price tag is, because businesses don't just shell out money without figuring out and budgeting a way to get that back. Like that just doesn't. It just doesn't happen in today's society.
And I know that we all know Uber, Lyft, all these people have 300-400 each attorneys on retainer. But you know what? The bottom line is, come January of 2023, some states are already moving to some really sad models. And to be honest, I honestly believe that, in slowly into the new year, and it might not be huge amounts at first, but we're going to start to see I hate to say it, pay decrease.
Yeah. Oh, I think I'm surprised we didn't see something this summer, because the summer's pretty much over. I mean, it is over, but yeah, it's because historically that's what's happened, and that's why we have to continue to adapt. And we talk about this. You got to adapt. You got to be able to find a different app, a different way, build, because these apps aren't going to get, for some of us that are new and we don't know any different. If you're just coming in, you're feeling good, the app's treating you well, but eventually if you're living just day to day or week to week, you might get caught by surprise, because the apps do tend to, I'm hearing a lot of people talk about Spark right now. They're changing some things with Spark. Base pay got lower a little bit. They're noticing differences. Whereas 3 months ago, Spark was the hottest app. Everybody loved it, right? So about 6 months from now, Spark will be different. And that's just how these apps work. And we have to understand that, right? And I also think, though, that's why some people are like, oh, I want to be an employee. I think these apps are treating us bad. We're misclassified. I want benefits. So I do think there are a large portion of people, a good percentage, that are like, I want that. I want that. I want that. Like, give me that, because I get stability. I want to be an employee for whatever, and there's nothing wrong with that necessarily. It's all, we all move differently. We want to make different money. We have different situations, but that's why I love gig work, is because we are different. We can turn on the app when we want. Like, if I needed to make $100 right now,
yeah,
I could do that.
Yep.
And if I had a W-2, which most people do, right? I did it for 18 years, right? If I had a W-2, unless they're paying overtime, I can't go make that extra 100 that I need. But with the gig economy, and especially these apps, you can do that. So I think that's really a big benefit, and we might lose that. I know a lot of you guys work. Bud Soda's in here. Bud Soda works 80 hours a week. Okay, right? If he becomes an employee, he ain't gonna be able to work 80 hours a week. So he's gonna be like making less money, right? And now Bud Soda's the exception. There's not a lot of those. He's in the 1%, is what I call. But I think of Mr. Flex. He works 70 hours a week. Mr. Flex, they're not gonna pay you overtime, right? They're not gonna do that,
No.
right? So Mr. Flex is gonna be making half the amount.
In fact, we all know how that works. You're going to get cut
Yeah.
at 38 hours or whatever leaves you under getting near overtime even.
Right.
But
right.
again, that goes to, in a franchise model, we broke this down. Approximately 15 to 20% of the drivers are going to be needed. So 4 out of 5 of you won't be able to work. I don't know. Here's my big question to you, though, I guess, then is, how many people that you think want to be employees are looking at Prop 22 and going, I want that, because that is 100% not what it's going to be.
Yeah, I think it could be a good amount, because I do think that we do see a large number of people, at least people that come to my channel. There's a few in here, Manuel Sanchez and a few others. And I know a few other drivers personally that are in Cali, and they're like, hey, they like it. There's some guaranteed earnings there. And I'm not mad at them for liking me. Hey, it works for you, man. It's great. Take those benefits. If it works, awesome. I'm happy that you have it. If it's working for you, it's all good, right? But this isn't that. So I do.
And we're all paying for it a little bit already for California.
Sure.
We're supplementing California. We're now going to be supplementing Washington, Massachusetts.
Right.
I mean, it's gonna, you guys. I mean, and again, I'm not playing to the side of the Giants, but they're, honestly, yes, they need to make money, and they're trying to do it in a way. And I know we don't like the ways they do it.
Yeah,
but it's the way they do it, man. They oversaturate, and they've gotten, really bad about some of the ways they do things. And there are changes needed. However, I mean, you can, anywhere you look worldwide, the gig economy is not going anywhere.
No, it's not. And I think it is weird, because it's ironic, I guess is a better word, because, I'll just speak from my own personal experience. I have a YouTube channel. I come on and complain a couple times a week. This sucks. You have a laugh, you get over it, you go home, you kiss your baby, and you go to sleep, right? So, like, yeah, I complain about what they do, but then I also realize, like, okay, that's kind of part of it. Because if it was that bad, I wouldn't work for DoorDash or with DoorDash. If I felt that impassioned about the business practices, I wouldn't have worked at the casino I worked at, because they have shit casinos. Come on, I could tell some stories, and then I wouldn't be peddling DoorDash McDonald's orders. But at the end of the day, it works for me on my time. I'm willing to kind of navigate and adapt. And I think that if it goes to us being reclassified as employees, it's going to be crazy. I talked to my stepmom. She's a real estate agent. I talked to, I guess like kind of like my brother-in-law. He's a painter and he has a crew of some guys and they're all 1099. He runs the S Corp. It would totally change the landscape of how they make money and how they run their business. So this doesn't just affect delivery drivers. It could affect a lot of other subcategories of work in this country.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the other thing that I wouldn't feel right not saying is that, again, if you're looking at Prop 22 and thinking that's what you're going to get, but here's the realistic side of it. If it's a franchise model, you're going to, you don't have a job. Now you got to go apply for it. And the franchisee has to believe that you're one of the few gig workers that isn't going to screw up.
Yep.
Because he's not going to want to be having high churn rate like these apps, because that's unemployment on him now.
Mm-hmm.
And he could go under very quickly. So he's going to be very careful in his selection. And then clearly it's going to, I mean, I don't mean to say like, who knows what it would be, but clearly it would have to be some kind of blocks or scheduled shifts. And you'd be told where to be.
Yeah.
And guess what? One thing, the one perk is we'd never see acceptance rate again because we would all have 100%, or else
we'd all have 100%. Yeah. But and we would, yeah. But it would definitely change the landscape. I don't think it's not something that I think I'm going to be affected by based on the timeline. I don't think, but I think some of us might be. We'll see. I think it's something to keep our pulse on, keep our eyes and our ears open to see what happens. Staying informed, being knowledgeable about what's happening around you, I think is important, guys. That's why I wanted to talk about this and bring Steve on, because he's super educated about it. And I know, I watched Steve's channel. He's talked about, Prop 22. Is it AB5? That's another one out there. Like Steve knows what he's talking about, and he's in the circles of people that deal with this stuff on a daily basis. So I thought he was a really good person to have on. So, Steve, hey, I appreciate you. I got a lot of people waiting. I'm going to bring some people in and kind of continue this conversation. Let me ask you one final question. I know you've been doing independent contracting since 1997, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see yourself continuing to do what you do? I know you work the apps. You got like Rody and Curry. I know like a lot of your big ones there. And then you do the laser production stuff. Like that's where you want to be, right? That's what you still see yourself doing, right?
I like to have my hand in as many cookie jars as I can, man.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I work for a laser company based out of Miami, and the sister company to it is a pyrotechnics company in Vegas. And I've even sat in for them only from meeting them from working at another show with them. So like, I just like to have people say, keep all your options open. I like to create millions of options.
Listen, amen to that, man. And I think I'm glad you said it, because that's kind of where I'm at least. Like I want to create opportunities for myself, but then also other people. That's what I'm trying to do, because I realize that for me, success is like trying to create an opportunity for somebody else, even it maybe employing a few people, like, and actually trying to build something of my own that I could be proud of. That's kind of where, what I'm leaning towards. And that's why I like the gig work, because it allows me some freedom and flexibility. I know we throw that word around, but that's a real thing, And for guys like us that works in the restaurant industry, manage the bars, like it can be tiring doing that. It's hard to work in that kind of industry and then also work on things for yourself. So that's why I promote these apps in a positive way overall, because if you have that kind of mindset, this is a good kind of work that you can do to kind of build something for yourself if that interests you, But Steve, hey, appreciate you, man. I can't wait for next Saturday.
Me neither.
Guys, go check out Rideshare Rodeo. I know we had some for all the moderators in here. Please put in the link to Steve's channel so you guys can go check that out. And I guess I'll talk to you again tomorrow. We got something else going on, so I'll be looking forward to that, man. Appreciate you coming on, brother.
Of course, anytime.
Thanks, man. Thank you. All right. So I see a lot of people waiting now. I'm going to get to each and every one of y'all. Appreciate y'all. Hit the thumbs up for my man Steve for coming in, dropping some gems on us, dropping his perspective. Now, I know some of the people that are waiting might want to talk about that topic. We can also talk about, do you fill drinks? We can get into that as well. But I do want to keep it on those two topics. So if you're coming into the StreamYard, or if you're waiting backstage right now and you want to talk about something else, this show will not be for you yet. You can come back later because I'll have some other things we got going on. But if you want to get into those particular topics,